The number 8 archetype disposition of the Enneagram. Hello, this is Chris speaking. Wake up with a video about the Enneagram, this time archetype disposition number 8, the leader. Our society, our culture tells us that we should all be number 8 leaders or number 3 achievers. But it actually wants people and makes people to be number 6s. So most people are number 6s actually. It's not that 1/9 of everyone is a 6 and 1/9 is an 8 and 1/9 is a 5 and so on. It doesn't work like that. That probably would be ideal, but it's not like that. It depends on the culture, and in our culture we need 6s because the 6s are the most fearful and thus the most easily controlled, like sheep, and we need shepherd's dogs to control them, and those are the 8s. 8s are natural born leaders, and they can be positive or negative leaders. It depends. There were also several 8s in the history of spirituality. For example, today I start with the examples. Or let's take some movie examples first. They're more clear. Elrond, probably an 8. Saruman, probably an 8. And Thorin, definitely an 8. In the Lord of the Rings books and movies. And let's not forget that J.R.R. Tolkien was very much awake. They're not just fantasy novels. This dude was seriously out there and on his path towards enlightenment. The Pope is probably an 8. Jesus was probably an 8. Goethe was an 8. Hobbes probably was an 8. The Avatar Babaji probably is an 8. Martin Luther King might have been an 8. I'm a little bit more careful here because there are actually not so many 8s out there. The world doesn't need a lot of leaders, just a few. So Maya doesn't produce too many. Doesn't need lots of 8s and doesn't need lots of 9s. Plus the spiritual path, to walk the spiritual path needs a lot of pressure. Only people walk it who don't have to lose anything anymore. And 8s, they're usually so successful materially. Why should they walk the spiritual path? Number 8s are also called the protector, the provider, the entrepreneur, the maverick, the rock, the challenger. I remember one good example. Don Juan. Don Juan in Carlos Castaneda books, no matter if he existed or not, he is described as an 8. In the Walking Dead series, Negan is a typical 8. The Governor too, Maggie too, several people there. Philosophers' books like Hobbes and Machiavelli are full of content about Plato, that a good leader, a good king, a philosopher king, a wise king would be the perfect political system. Unfortunately, we know that power corrupts, and many people who should be leaders don't want to. And those who want to shouldn't be. 8s are self-confident, decisive, willful, confrontational. They immediately, if they come into a group situation, they take charge. Because actually they're afraid of something. They're afraid of being harmed or controlled. They're afraid of violation, so they rather control and harm and violate others. They actually want to protect themselves. And thus, in a good sense, they often protect others as well. But mainly it's about themselves. They want to be masters of their fate. And this is one of the reasons why it's difficult for them to walk the spiritual path, because you have to relinquish that. You have to give that one up. You're not master of your fate. Fate is the master of your fate. And fate is an aspect of Maya. It's very difficult to surrender for an 8. Very, very difficult, more difficult than for any other type. We have 2 wings, the 7 wing and the 9 wing. The 7 wing is very charismatic. They attract a lot of followers very easily. They have this enthusiastic aspect of the 7. A very interesting subtype is the 8 with the 9 wing. Riso calls it the bear because they combine these 2 very interesting qualities of a leader and of someone with overview. So this could be a philosopher king. They are made for leading and protecting others. They're less selfish. And there are 3 subtypes. The survivor. Again, this is Negan. He survives anything and everything. They can be very materialistic, very much about satisfying their needs. And thus, as a negative aspect, they can become bullies and criminals. Then there's the solidarity type, who again is more about others and less about himself. But they will test people. They will test people if they're true friends, if you can trust them. They make friends easily, but they also can discard friends easily if they're not useful or trustworthy anymore. And then the 3rd subtype is the possessive one. He's the most emotional and outspoken and rebellious of all the 8 types. He loves to go against the rules. Not his rule or her rules, of course, those of society. They demand absolute loyalty. And in relationships, they completely dominate their partner. The 8 that is in healthy growth realizes that he has to abandon his control of everything. That he doesn't need to control the environment and others all the time. He can be magnanimous and still be courageous, forgiving and heroic, and surrender to the universe. The more you feel that you have to control others, that you have to be in charge, that you can trust no one, that you feel betrayed, etc., that there are boundary problems in your life, that you feel encroached upon, or you feel megalomaniac, or that you're surrounded by enemies, then it goes into the wrong direction. Those are red flags. There's a price of running things all the time, of being in charge all the time, of being a control freak. You burn out. You're not God, so you cannot control everything and will cost you a lot of life force. 8s also have to learn how to control their anger and their aggression, and to use this energy for something else that is also useful for others and not only for themselves. In stress situations, 8s go towards 5 type, which means they're fretting. They feel overwhelmed and they start fretting and strategizing and isolating themselves. Isolation is a 5 mechanism, and if you do that as an 8, there's something wrong here. Paranoia is a big red flag for 8s, as is violence. What you should do is move towards number 2. Number 2 is the helper. Yeah? To become less selfish and do more for others. That's your direction of growth. Karma yoga and bhakti yoga. That's very good for you. Seva, selfless work for the community. The basic desire of 8s is to protect themselves. But what you should do is protect others without a usefulness for yourself. Not just to create more followers and fans, but to really do something that is beneficial for others. You don't have to prove to yourself and others that you're the boss, that you're the alpha. You are the alpha, but use it for the common good. Julius Caesar probably was an 8. And he could have been a good leader, but he fucked it up and got killed. Trying to control everything can make enemies. That doesn't have to be paranoia. If you're an asshole, you will make enemies. You need to learn about limits. What are your limits? You need to learn that truth is more important than authority. You need to learn that respect is not the same as fear, as being feared. You need to learn how to consult your intelligence and your heart, and especially your intuition before doing something. And when you feel aggression, don't act out, but look, where are they coming from? What is the message of your system why you feel angry or aggressive? And you need to learn that it is possible to be vulnerable and not weak. That vulnerability is not weakness. Like the 5 type, you need to explore emotions. You need to learn about your emotions, study your emotions, observe your emotions. Jesus said that we have to become more like children. He probably said that because he was an 8 and he overcame his 8 negative aspects. But that is also what you have to do. Become more like a child, more natural, more spontaneous, more playful, more forgiving, to be in the moment and to just play with friends. Leave your comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me as a Patreon. Thank you all to all my Patreons. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing the videos with your friends. And see you soon.